Hello my beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to another monthly palette ranking video. There is usually a good mix of new palettes that I've gotten to try in the past month and some of the older ones that I already have in my collection and I just happened to reach for. In December and January, my life was just a vortex of things. There was just so much happening all at once. It was low-key overwhelming. These are all the palettes that I got to test and play with, and usually I do it on a monthly basis. However, this is pretty much a roundup for 2 months, for December and January. A lot of these palettes have dedicated videos on, and I will of course have them linked for you in the description box for you to check it out. So on those palettes, I may cut down on my deep reviews and I will just give you like bullet points of what I think about the palette so you have a chance to go and check out the actual full video. However, I will still share all my thoughts with you. And on the palettes, of course, the ones that didn't make it to a video, maybe I just filmed a reel with it or shared some thoughts with you on Instagram, then I will of course share my full thoughts in today's videos. And if I have any discount codes with the brands, I will be just putting all the information on the screen for you for your convenience. And of course you can find all that also in the description box. Before we get started, I would love to welcome new visitors and viewers to my channel. Hello, my name is Eve and I love all things beauty. Here on my channel, I share about beauty and lifestyle. I upload new videos every week, and if that sounds interesting to you, I hope you enjoyed this video and consider subscribing to my channel if you're not yet a subscriber. And now, without further ado, let's get into eyeshadow palette ranking. So on the spot number last in today's ranking, I have a palette that I have very unsettled mixed feelings, and I will explain why. So this is Krampus Continued from LadyBug Glow. Let me just start by saying that LadyBug Glow is a small indie brand that has one person behind the brand, to my best knowledge. When I purchased this palette, I did not know anything about the brand. I have heard very few people here on YouTube space talk about LadyBug Glow and just featuring their palettes, but to be honest with you, I wasn't really so into it, so I didn't really have so much information. But this color story, when it went into my Instagram feed, I scrolled back and I was like, wait a minute. What is this color story? Because it's so beautiful. So I purchased this from Etsy. To my best knowledge, this is the only area where you can purchase from the brand. So this is super beautiful color story. This palette was also launched like post-Halloween, sometime around Halloween time. And I thought that this was a very unique approach to a color story for Halloween palette for the majority of things that we've been seeing from different brands. So it's not like the typical purple, green, orange, yellow type of stuff. And there's nothing wrong about those color stories, but I think they're more traditional. And this is a very interesting, like fresher approach to the Halloween theme. And I think this is what appealed to me. And all these colors, I don't have a ton of cool tone shades, and because this palette was so compact, and this palette has some interesting shifty shades here, so I was very drawn to this color story. And to this date, I'm very drawn to this color story. I think it's a really beautiful palette. Packaging is pretty compact. It's a 9-pan palette. It's very light. You do get a mirror here, and it is magnetic. In the back of the palette, it says that it's 36-month shelf life. It's cruelty-free. It doesn't say where the palette was made. I understand this is a US based brand. However, I still want to know where the palette is made. I still want to have that information. But again, here's me being like super picky. So this front cover of the palette feels like cheap paper. I know it sounds horrible. I know it sounds absolutely horrible. And the way this cover was printed, the brand name is almost like wraps around the corner. But let's talk about this beautiful color story for a second. You get 4 different mattes and they're beautiful. I really love that this is very nice swampy green. Then you have a neutral shade here, and then you get these beautiful like mid-tone colors that are just absolutely stunning. So you get 5 different shimmer shades and they're very, very pretty. The formula is really nice. Mattes are very comfortable to work with. They're beautiful. Whatever you see here, this is what comes out on your eyes. They blend really nicely. There's no patchiness. They're lovely. The shimmer formulas is also really, really pretty. This shade is very stunning. It definitely gives you that beautiful, like iridescent light green. It's such a beautiful shade. However, this one looks a little bit dusty on my eyes. Not a huge fan of this shade. So this is definitely like my favorite shade when it comes to shimmers in this entire palette. Another thing that bummed me out is this shade right here. It feels dry and like rough and scratchy. I would never put this on my eye. But the thing is, when I received this palette, I received this little thing. There wasn't any note, print out little paper that would tell me, hey, this and this happened. We're sorry. Here's another new shade. There was nothing. So I just got it and I was like, what is it, a gift with purchase? It didn't even click right away to me that this was like a mishap that happened in the production of putting this palette together. So long story short, this is a correct shade that's here. And to be honest with you, as you can see, it's still here. I have no motivation using it. Still haven't gotten to replace it and do anything with it because this palette is not magnetic. So I'll have to go through this whole entire hustle, let's just say, removing this one without trying to destroy a palette. I just don't have time for it right now. Like I said, in the last 2 months, my life has been just crazy. I just don't have time for it. And this is one of those things that, you know, I paid full price for the palette, I paid for additional shipping, and this is what I got. I know I'm taking a lot of time talking about this palette, but again, I did not do any dedicated content on this palette because when I got it, honestly, I was a little bit underwhelmed with it. At first, when this palette launched, it was sold out completely, it was not available. So I was like, why I'm going to be doing a dedicated video on it when it's not even available. After a while, I think a month after, they restocked it. And to be honest with you, I don't even know if this palette is available right now. I have my bar set high, especially in 2024. Like, I have zero intentions lowering my bar for the quality, for the prices that we're paying for products all around the place. So I have zero intentions lowering my expectations for quality of products that I'm getting. This was just did not make a cut. On the spot number 6, I have the Dreamer from Unearthly Cosmetics. I do have a dedicated video on this palette and it's probably already live before you're watching this ranking video. I shared 3 different look tutorials and the look that you're seeing on my eyes today is made with this palette. I purchased this palette pretty much blindly. I purchased this when they revealed the first 3 shades in the first row and I was like, yes, I just want to have this palette. But you guys already know the story. If you've been here on my channel, you know that earlier last year, I've purchased my very first palette from Unearthly Cosmetics and I was heavily disappointed. However, because I'm hearing all these amazing things about the brand, I was like, I'm gonna give them another chance. Again, I purchased it pretty much blindly and then they revealed the 3 shades. So I figured there would be something within these lines. Okay. And this is what the color story is. I think it's so pretty. I love this color story. And all the pans are magnetic. They're all removable. So you can rearrange them if you wanted to. You can put them in your traveling palette, whatever you want to do with them. As far as the quality, it's definitely improved significantly from that first disaster that I tried from them. But so I paid a luxury price tag for this. It was in upper 60s. When it comes to makeup and beauty, anything over $65, I consider a luxury territory. So this palette's quality is definitely improved, like I said, from the first experience that I had with them. However, it's still lacking in a lot of different areas throughout this palette. I suggest, if you're very interested in my in-depth thoughts and if you want to see this palette in action, how the makeup looks and tutorials came together, I'd love to refer you to that dedicated video because that one is very much in depth about everything, about all the textures and different shades and specifics. But I just want to say, generally, it's not the quality that I expect for this price tag, even though the packaging is nice, but again, it's not luxury packaging. I definitely love that the pans are magnetic, which adds to the cost. I get it. It's not a luxury formula by all means. I feel like this palette is not serving you the quality what you're paying for. This is spot number 5. I have this palette. This is a chocolate brown from Huda Beauty, 9-pan palette. Very nice neutral monochromatic palette. This palette has been in my collection for some time. This is just one of the palettes that I reach to because I need a go-to out of the door in 10 minutes type of looks. I generally like Huda Beauty eyeshadow palette formulas. I have a really nice collection. You may have seen it in my recent eyeshadow palette collection declutter video, end of 2023. Featured this eyeshadow palette in my makeup of the day reel on my Instagram, so you can check it out there. And this is just a palette that, even though there are some differences in undertones, once I put everything together, it just looks like a true neutral eye makeup look. And this is something that I'm just comfortable wearing like on any occasion, for work, for office, for meetings, whatever. And this palette has been used quite a few times in the past 2 months. So on the spot number 5, I do have a KIKO MILANO 9-pan palette. It's called Glamour Multi-Finish Eyeshadow Palette. And I got mine in the version 03, which is like a burgundy shades. They have different variations for this palette. And this palette I featured in the full face of KIKO MILANO products, and that video is already live for you to check it out. I just think this is a very nice neutral color story. I consider burgundies neutral, and I really enjoyed the formula. It's nice. It's not anything extraordinary or spectacular, but it's very easy to work with. All the shades are true to color. Whatever you see here, that's what you get on your eye. You have a really nice concentrated depth here. So this shade gave me a really nice depth and pigment on my eyes. Formulas wear really well throughout the day. Nothing fades, nothing creases. These two shades are really beautiful. There are a few different shimmer formulas here. Some of them are a little bit more satin. They're beautiful and smooth. It's not like a boring satin. And there's this shade that has a little bit more pigment. It's kind of like the full opacity, like foil shimmer. And these two are another shimmer formula. They're a little bit more textured, but they are also a little bit more punchy. And this shade is so beautiful. It's kind of gold, but it has a little bit of like the mossy green undertone in it. It's so stunning. I really like this palette. It's very sturdy packaging. It opens up completely like that. You get a mirror and it also stands on its own if you need it to. It's a very nice neutral travel palette that I can definitely see myself getting use out of. On spot number 3, I do have New Zealand Stargazing from NOMAD Cosmetics. This palette, that's the only palette that I'm talking about today that I received in PR. A little bit of a smaller format of the palette, and I really like that they kept it to a little bit smaller size. Very simple packaging, but still very beautiful and reflects the color story and the theming very well. I generally think that Nomad does a really good like theming and execution of their theming. I think they know exactly what they're doing, so this palette is not an exception. Color story is definitely juicy and quite bold. However, the quality is very good in this palette. This is the quality of Nomad eyeshadows that I know of. The mattes are just all consistent. They all perform very well. They don't fade. They're easily blendable. They pack really nicely. They blend really nicely. They blend into each other really nicely. I really like their matte formulation and I hope they will never change it. So all the shimmer shades in this palette, they are multi-chromes. And I really like how they arrange kind of like in a star shape. So it goes like this in a triangle and then there's one additional one here. All the multi-chromes here, they're quite shifty. They're also the same formula. They're very consistent. They're very smooth. They do not crease. There are no like chunks of glitter in any of them. They're just beautiful, creamy, smooth, reflective shimmers. I really enjoy playing with this palette. I think it's stunning. I definitely reach for all these special shades that are here because they're so beautiful. I've already used some of these more neutral shades in my like daily life because I just think that they're stunning. Even though this color story is a little bit out of my comfort zone because it's definitely more colorful, but I do love what they did with this palette. They included the matte black, which is really important. I think with this such a bold color story of not only the mattes, but also very powerful shimmers, you need a dark shade, and black matte shade is like ideal for that. This is my vision. This is how I like do my makeup. If I'm putting this super powerful, beautiful, reflective, shiny, shimmery, mesmerizing shimmer on my eyelid, I want my eye look to be beautiful, sultry, and smoky. I need a black matte. This was a really fun launch in my opinion. I also really much appreciated that Nomad decided to launch their palette in January, because the madness of eyeshadow palette launches mid of October before Halloween and through the end of the year, it was overwhelming. I think the week of Halloween, I think there were literally palettes, like multiple palettes announcing and launching every single day of the week. And I was like, what is happening? What is happening? This is madness. So the palettes that I have in a spot number 2 and number 1, that was a very big decision that I had to make, right? It was a battle. It was a very, very close tie, and either one of these palettes could be a number 1, to be honest with you. The palette on the second spot, the one that's maybe here just because of its price point, because it is a hefty price tag. This is a Mothership 10 Moonlit Seduction eyeshadow palette that I picked up for my birthday. So this palette I purchased with my Ulta points, and I think they came in very handy. And I thought, well, since I already have points, I will go for a Big Daddy. I've done a dedicated video on this palette with multiple look tutorials. You can check it out. And I would just want to say that when I received this palette, it looked a little bit different from what it looked like on photos because I was purchasing it online. However, I gave this a little bit of a chance to prove itself. And once I started playing with this palette, I just think that the looks come out so beautiful, so glamorous, and they look so expensive on eyes. Such a beautiful color story that is very cohesively made. If you've already been on my channel, you may know already some of my preferences when it comes to shades and undertones, etc. I prefer neutral tones and warmer tones. When it comes to cooler tones, I like them, I don't love them. And some palettes I really enjoy because their color stories are just so advanced and they're so cohesive and creative that looks that come out of those palettes are just very beautiful and they're very flattering, but not all cool tones made the same way. And then I started playing with this palette and I have to tell you that I fell in love with this palette. It's beautiful. I love all the different shimmer formulations here. This quad right here, these two shimmers, they are satins, but they're gorgeous satins. They're just really beautiful in eyes. They're smooth. They give you opacity of the shade that you see here. I enjoy the looks that come out of this palette so much. It's just such a advanced formula. It looks so beautiful, so glamorous, so expensive on eyes. The shades do not fade. They are lovely to work with. The mattes are very comfortable to work with. They have pigment, they blend by themselves and then into each other, they pack. Like, it's a really beautiful formula. I just love this palette so much. The palette that took #1 spot, and I think for a good reason, it's totally deserving of this title today, What's Up Beauty, a Dragon Eye. This packaging, I'm just gonna start by saying that I think this launch was a knockout from the brand. Who knew about What's Up Beauty before this launch? I think I've heard maybe 1 or 2 times, and I've been in YouTube space for several years now. This launch definitely took them to the surface. I think they did an amazing job and their hard work paid off here. You look at this palette and you know that they put so much thought and effort and work hours into this. I think they totally deserve the attention. Absolutely stunning packaging. The design is just gorgeous and it's made really nicely. It's like embossed design here and different like finishes, so beautiful. I love how compact this palette is. I did not do a dedicated video on this palette because this palette was launched around Halloween when all the madness was happening and my life was just, I just didn't have time to do the dedicated video on it, but I did feature this on my Instagram in a few reels, so you can check it out there. This color story is so beautiful. It's a little bit of neutral, but also the colorful colors are muted. So I think the neutral lover would like it, but also the colorful lover would like it. All the looks that come out of this palette is just so beautiful, so cohesive. Everything goes with everything. Quality of both mattes and shimmers is stunning. All the shimmer shades are shifty shades. They're smooth, they're super reflective, they almost look glossy on your eyelids. So beautiful. And the matte formula in this palette is a beautiful, soft, almost like a velvety feel to it. This is an absolute therapeutic moment using this palette. I've been reaching for this palette quite a bit since I got it because it's just so beautiful. This is such a beautiful formula to work with. It's so easy. You don't have to put too much effort. It's just the shades just blend themselves. One thing that I wanted to mention that I think it's important for me personally, because in my real life on a daily basis, when I run my errands and go to work, etc., I love my shimmers to be beautiful, smooth, and reflective and fun. However, I don't want them to be intimidating. This palette, even though all these shimmers are special, shifty, like duochromes, multichromes, they can easily be worn from day to night without being overwhelming. A lot of those like shifty shades, they're maybe a little bit too much for the day. And again, this is only according to my preferences, how I like my makeup. Sometimes there are textures that fall into this category that I would only wear for the evening time when I go out, when I go on a date, or when I have like a party to go to, etc. But during the day, I maybe prefer something that's a little bit toned down yet beautiful. This is the palette that can go either way. Somehow it just falls into this like very versatile category. And I think this is one of those very unique yet important features to the palette. So another very distinct feature and something that's very important to me personally when it comes to the quality of matte shades is that these mattes are very hardworking. You can use one of these mattes and blend it out and pack it and make it look like you can do the entire makeup base out of one shade because it can sheer out and it can also pack and build up. So it would look like you used 2-3 different shades, but you only used one. This is a feature of the matte shade quality that not every single palette can say that about their formulas. With that in mind, I feel like we didn't need these 2 shades. It could easily be just like this shade because you can sheer it out. And then I would love to see a black matte in this palette because just what I said earlier when I was talking about NOMAD palette, that they included the black matte shade in there, and makes perfect sense because you have such a powerful shimmers that you want that depth in your looks. And then, you know, when you look at the palette, we have a dragon and we have green, purple, and a little bit of black here. So when you open the palette, you're like, where's the black? Where's my black matte? I know if you are purchasing this palette, there's a high chance that this is not your first palette. You probably already have like your basics covered when it comes to makeup products, your makeup stash. However, I feel like it would be a nice touch. So this is just my humble opinion. If I would make a change to this palette, I would take this shade out and put a black matte here. Just kind of one of those like very small nitty-gritty things that I had to pick on. But other than that, I think it's an incredible launch. I believe this was either $42 or $45. So I think it's a very reasonable price for the quality that you're getting out of this palette. Not to get any more petty that I already have, but if I scroll back to the very beginning of this video, and I've talked to the very first palette in today's video, and it was pretty much the same price range. I just feel if I put these two palettes together, there is a world of a difference. So I think you get the gist here. So these are all the palettes that I wanted to share with you today, and I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it helpful. All the related videos and dedicated videos to all these palettes that I have, I will have them linked for you in the description box. If you have any additional questions, comments, please leave them in the comment section below. I would love to hear your thoughts and chat with you there. If you enjoyed this video, give this a big thumb up and share with someone who you think may also like it. If you're not yet a subscriber, I invite you to subscribe to my channel. The subscribe button is right here. What are you waiting for? And thanks so much for watching and hanging out with me today, and I will see you in my next videos.